Good evening, friends. Today I am going to discuss about the tips and tricks of cataract surgery. This is where I operate. The common issues that we normally get in pediatric cataracts are the proper IOL power calculation, the low scleral rigidity, which is responsible for softness of the eyeball during the operation. The elasticity of the anterior capsule is extremely high, and so we get difficulty in making the rhexis of the right size and controlling the rhexis. The nucleus is very soft. There is elasticity of the posterior capsule as well, and the posterior capsular opacification, as you all know, is almost universal. Now coming to the issue of intraocular lens power calculation in children. As you can see, this is a very interesting and important paper which had come out in an American Academy of Ophthalmology last August, which is basically a renewed sort of a chart showing the amount of residual refraction, positive residual refraction that we should leave behind in pediatric patients. I had been using it for some time now, and I see I get good results. This is a 5-year-old child in which we are going to do cataract surgery. As you can see, I am using MBR blade, 0.9 millimeter blades on both the sides to make my side port, fill the anterior chamber with air, inject trypan blue. In these cases, we keep the trypan blue for a slightly prolonged period of about 30 seconds to 1 minute as compared to about 10-15 seconds in adult cases, because the anterior capsule is too elastic, it's difficult to tear, and trypan blue has a property that it makes it more brittle. Another very important thing is you'll have to keep the anterior chamber inflated with viscoelastic every time, because the scleral rigidity is too low, and as you open the anterior chamber, the rigidity tends to be even lower. So while doing a rhexis, I always start with a cystitome and then refill the anterior chamber, and then slowly and gently pull the edges towards the center, because it always have a tendency to go out. As you can see that I am slowly continuing with my rhexis with a Haldipurkar micro rhexis forceps, and in between, after every 15 degrees, about 3 clock hours, I am trying to refill the anterior chamber, make sure that I am catching the rhexis as close to the point of attachment of the anterior capsule with the portion that has been already rhexis, the portion that has already been done. And that's how I am repeatedly filling the anterior chamber, keeping the consistency of the anterior chamber, making the anterior capsule flat, and thereby completing my rhexis into a fine, controlled 5 millimeter in diameter capsular rhexis. After having done that, I inject fluid at multiple points, very small amount, less than 0.1 ml at 2-3 points, because the nucleus in these cases are very soft and you don't have to do a vigorous hydrodissection. Nuclear rotation is easy, and in this particular case I'll be using bimanual irrigation aspiration handpiece of the Phaco, of the Signature Pro Phaco system, to remove the nucleus as well as the epinuclear tissues. So it's not a very difficult job in these cases. First of all, I remove the epinucleus from the surface, then slowly and gently remove the nucleus, which comes out very easily. It's a soft nucleus, as you can see. And then with the same handpiece and the same settings, I'll take out the epinucleus and the cortex, which are in most of the cases are attached to each other. So removing the epinucleus and cortex is not very difficult, but they normally remain very closely attached to the posterior capsule. You might have to pull it to the center before removing it. After having finished one side, we will change hands and ultimately remove the small portion which is left behind at about 3 o'clock position, at about 9 o'clock position. So that is the end of epinucleus removal. The posterior capsule seems to be fairly clean. We don't have to do a posterior capsular polishing. So after having removed all the cortical matters, I'll fill the anterior chamber with viscoelastic, and I've the implantation of the lens is routine. In this case, I do not use hydration from the side port. I do it under viscoelastic. HPMC is the only viscoelastic which has been used throughout the procedure. I prefer to use it and not use a lot of dispersive viscoelastic or sodium hyaluronate, because they might be a bit more difficult to remove, and it's not important. Also, I can manage with it fairly well. After implanting the lens within the bag, what I'm trying to do is slightly displace the lens, the optic, to one side, inject viscoelastic, make a space for posterior capsular rhexis, and then inject some amount of viscoelastic again. Do not overfill it. It will push the posterior capsule too far back and it will be difficult to manage. Now once I have seen that I have enough space, I'll first make a nick with a cystitome, which I have already done. You must be able to see the nick. And then I'll use the Haldipurkar forceps, microrhexis forceps, to convert it into a round rhexis, the size of which will be slightly smaller than the anterior capsular rhexis. It will be 4 to 4.5 millimeter in diameter, and again you should be very gentle because the posterior capsule is equally elastic, and you'll have to be very, very cautious while doing it. And once you have completed it, make sure that it's complete, otherwise it will run away. So once I'm sure that it's complete, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture the optic behind the posterior capsular rhexis, which is not a very difficult thing to do if your posterior rhexis is good enough. As you can see the edges. I've already done the lower part, then I'm doing the upper part of it. Now it's done. Now I know the lens is placed behind, the optic is placed behind the posterior capsule, the haptic is placed quite well within the bag, and that's the end of the surgery. What we need to do is remove the OVD that we have used replace it with balance salt solution, and then slowly hydrate the wounds. Do not overhydrate, just hydrate enough chamber to be maintained. Before doing an irrigation aspiration, in these cases where the scleral rigidity is low, it's my habit to hydrate the primary wound, primary incision, so that the iris doesn't come out, the wound doesn't leak, and we can have a fairly stable anterior chamber during the process of irrigation aspiration. If there is too much of fluctuation during the irrigation aspiration, then there is a possibility that the optic capture that I have done might get dislodged. The optic might come out into the anterior chamber, and you might get difficulty to place it back at the place where you intend to place it. So basically, this is done. Once this is done, I've injected very small amount of carpinol, pilocarpine in the anterior chamber to constrict the pupil, and that's the end of the surgery.